So today we're going to be talking about this. This is the new Sigma 12mm f1.4 for APS-C cameras. And Sigma were kind enough to send me two of them, so I have this one for Sony E mount, and you're watching me on the Fuji X mount. So I don't get to keep them. They're going to go back to Sigma. I got to send them back tomorrow. So let's talk about it. So everything that you're going to be watching in this video is all filmed on these two lenses, right? So either the Fuji or the Sony version. I found, for the most part, autofocus works just as well. Obviously, it's going to be faster on the Sony, as you can see with Fuji. It's a little bit slower. The only other difference that I've found is, we're going to get into this more in a second, the lens does have an aperture ring. My aperture ring works just fine on my Sony one, but it doesn't seem to communicate with my Fujifilm X-M5 on the Fuji version. I don't know if that's just my copy. I don't know if it's a setting that I need to turn on, but I figured I'd mention it. If you know any more about that, throw in the comments down below and I'll pin it. So I am super excited about this lens. I mean, first off, look at the size of this thing. This thing is super, super small, and it is, I think it's the 5th lens in their contemporary series for APS-C cameras. You got the 16mm, which is incredibly popular. Where's that? I have that sitting around. You got the 16mm, probably the most popular lens that they've ever made for APS-C cameras. You got a 30mm, and a 56mm and a 23mm, and now a 12. I don't have the 23 or 56, but now that I have the 12 here, I'm able to sort of compare it with those other ones. I think the one that it's going to be most comparable to is going to be the 16mm, and I love the 16mm. Most of my YouTube videos have been recorded on the Sigma 16 f1.4. It is a phenomenal lens, just an absolute bargain. The only complaint that some people have had about this lens is the size. It's not, you know, it's not big, but it's not small. And here we have a 12mm that is substantially smaller. I mean, it is very, very impressive that this is an f1.4. Now, I actually don't know the actual price of this lens. I'll throw it up here on the screen so you can kind of see. That is the price here in the United States. Again, around the world, it's going to be a little bit different, but so you can decide for yourself whether you think that that's worth it. Obviously, its closest competitor, I think, is going to be the Viltrox 13mm f1.4. Between those two lenses, I know that one's just a little bit cheaper. For this one, you're going to be getting, you know, smaller and wider compared to the Viltrox, which is just going to be maybe a little bit bigger and heavier, and also a little bit cheaper. So, like, the main thing is all lenses are good these days. If you can't decide between the 12mm of this and the 13mm of the other one, just get one. I'm sure they're very, very comparable, and you'll be happy with your purchase. So this is the 5th lens in their series, and I'm assuming this maybe rounds it out. They may go for like a 75mm or something down the line, but I think this thing is just lovely. And this is the first one of all of the lenses in this series to have an aperture ring, and it has a really nice click to it. I don't know if you can hear it here. Let me see if I can. I think it sounds really nice, and it does have an A section for your camera to control the aperture. So if you don't want to control it on the lens itself, just throw it over into that little A section there and you can control it on your camera. This is really nice though, because a lot of small cameras only have 2 dials these days. So if you don't want to control your aperture on your camera, you know, you want to use those for your ISO and your shutter speed, well, you can just use the dial on the lens itself, which I think is great. So 12mm is super wide. This is, honestly, this is as wide as I like to shoot. This is a full frame equivalent of an 18mm, and I think it is good and it is great for vlogging. So we are going to take it on a vlogging test in just a second, but I think that's what this is going to be fantastic for, is the vlogging style, that sort of walking, talking shot. I think this is going to be great. Any wider than 18mm full frame equivalent, and I find you to start to get really accentuated with the distortion and the stretching and stuff, especially on the edges. I don't really like it. So, but to each their own. Some people love shooting at that sort of like 13, 14, 15mm. I like 18, again, 18mm full frame, which is 12mm here on APS-C. But what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll throw this Sony version on my A6700, which I think this is going to be a super popular pairing, especially for vlogging. I think it's just going to be really, really nice, and a lot of people are going to like it, and we'll take it out for a little vlog. So I think this is going to be a great option for people who are looking at just doing simple vlogs. This seems to be a very popular thing these days, is literally just turning on a camera and talking to the camera, and just letting the camera do its thing. I've got the digital stabilization of the A6700 turned on, not the active stabilization, so you can tell me how this looks. But I think the lens is wide enough that it'll probably absorb, you know, you won't notice quite as much of the shakes as normal. And I am not being careful right now. I'm just walking and hoping that it looks okay. So you can tell me what you think about this kind of use case for this lens. But I do think what's going to make this so popular is that, yes, it's wide angle lens, 12mm, but it's also an f1.4. So you do get a decently, you know, blurry background for 12mm on an APS-C camera. which is kind of hard to get, especially for a decent amount of money. So I think this is going to be a great option for people looking for a lens to fill this kind of need. All right, back in the studio, you can tell me what you think about that sort of vlogging test. Here's my thoughts about this lens. There are a lot of things that I absolutely love about this lens, and honestly, nothing I don't like so far. Again, the only thing is on my Fuji version, that aperture ring control. But again, I just haven't had enough time to test to figure out if that's me or if that's the lens. The size and weight is spectacular. It feels so good on this. This is my A6700. It fits really, really well, and I really like it. Secondly, the close focusing distance of this lens is ridiculous. It feels incredibly close. So I don't know the exact distance, but I can show you here on the screen kind of what that looks like, of just how close I'm able to get to this subject here. It is very, very close. Now, as far as image quality goes, it has a nice image. I mean, I would struggle to find a lens made in 2025, especially of this caliber, especially by a company like Sigma, that's not going to produce a good image. I think it looks really, really nice. Nice and sharp, nice and detailed. I snapped a couple of shots just so you can kind of see the distortion here. And again, distortion is one of those things. It is subjective. If it bothers you a lot, then don't buy this lens. If it doesn't bother you, then this one might be for you, but there is going to be that little bit of distortion. Focus breathing wise, I noticed a little bit of focus breathing, but nothing super, super crazy. I mean, you can kind of even just see in this frame right here, there's just a little bit there on the edges. But it's not crazy. It's not super, super bad. And again, it depends how you're using it, if focus breathing is actually going to be a problem for you or not. So as far as the physical characteristics of the lens, again, it is very lightweight. It is very small, which is nice. Comes with a nice lens cap and rear cap. It has a little lens hood, which is always nice. And it is very, very slim. So if you're worried about flares and you want to try and cut out some of those flares, you can use the lens hood, which is always nice to have. I don't tend to use them very much. It does have a 62mm filter thread. So if you need ND filters or step-up rings to work with your current ND filters, this is 62mm, which is nice. I think that's a pretty common lens size. I would say that's one of the weaknesses of the Sigma Contemporary series, is that all of the lenses have different thread sizes. So like the 30mm is 52, the 16mm is 67, this is a 62. They're a little bit all over the place, but again, if you just buy one step-up ring for each lens, you're fine. So that would be my recommendation. Now the lens does have some weather sealing on it. Now Sigma haven't told me if this is fully weather sealed or not, but there is a very, very thin little rubber gasket around the edge. It's not much. It doesn't protrude as much as other rubber gaskets that I've seen, but it is nice that it's there. Nice metal mount, all that kind of stuff. Everything you'd come to expect from a Sigma lens. And now we have a really nice wide angle for the Sigma series. And I've always loved Sigma's lenses. I think they're really nice. They're super clean. They aren't super character-y. They don't have all that much character to them, right? They're much more clinical, but it is a little bit easier to add character in post than it is to add cleanness in post. So depending on what you're wanting to do, and especially if you're just vlogging or something, I think this is an incredible option that we again have into the ecosystem, and it's available in plenty of mounts, which is always nice. It doesn't cover full frame, so I would not buy this for a full frame camera. It's designed for APS-C, and I think it works great on APS-C. So I want to hear what your thoughts are. What do you think of the latest edition? This is an interesting one for me because it seems like it might be one of their last lenses in the C line, the contemporary line, but it's so different. The design is so different. The design is more like their sort of compact full frame lenses than it is of their old APS-C style lenses. So maybe this is a signal for, you know, more stuff to come potentially, or they just wanted to do it because they knew that they could and that people would like it, which I do. So I do have to get this lens back to Sigma as soon as I can. But honestly, I really enjoyed using it, and I've been needing like a wide angle with a shallow depth of field, because again, look at that depth of field back there. It looks so nice. I have some wide angles, but they're not at f1.4. So I'm probably going to order one of these. I just can't decide whether to get one for Sony or for Fuji. Bit of a toss up, I don't know, but we'll see. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, or maybe even subscribe as we continue to build this channel. I appreciate all of you for doing so, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.